we'll title this Overwhelming Opposition. Now, there is a prerequisite for this message. The prerequisite is something you don't normally or should normally do at church. I want you to bring all of your problems to this message. Any problem that's going on in your life, this one's going to talk to. Bring it here. Keep it in mind as we go through this. This is what it's talking about. 2 Kings 19, verse 14. 2 Kings 19, verse 14. And Hezekiah received the letter of the hand of the messengers and read it. He got a messenger. Now, he got it from messengers. So who are these messengers? Back up to verse 9. And when he, talking about Sennacherib, heard say of Tarkan, king of Ethiopia, behold, he has come out to fight against thee. He didn't waste any time with him. He sat down and did something else. He sent messengers again unto Hezekiah, saying, so forth, so on. So that's the letter that Hezekiah has received, is from Sennacherib. And it's thrown him for a loop. Your problems will do the same thing. And Sennacherib is a big, bad dude. I mean, as far as humans were concerned, he was mopping up. And he was a powerful king. Look at verse 14 again. Pick up where we left off. And Hezekiah went up to the house of the Lord and spread it before the Lord. He said, okay, God, I got a problem here. And I got to get somebody who knows something more than humans. As far as humans were concerned, Sennacherib was the big bad boy. Nobody was competing with him. So he did something that every youngster learns. Find your big brother. When the bully comes out, you go hide behind the meanest, toughest guy you know. And that's smart right here. Nobody's going to be on par with God. So he takes it up there to God. Says, can I get you in on this problem? Verse 10. Verse 10. Thus shall you speak to Hezekiah, king of Judah. So here's what was in the letter. Saying, let not thy God in whom thou trustest deceive thee. Saying, Jerusalem shall not be delivered into the hand of the king of Assyria. He says, nowhere did God say, I couldn't come in and take care of you. You don't have any verse that says you'll never be overthrown. Huh? Now, hadn't your problems done that? Your problems will do that. They'll come in and say, you don't have any promises that say you'll never have any problems. And I'm a problem, and I'm a big bad problem, and I'm going to give you some problems. And you can trust in the Lord all you want, but you don't have anything that says you'll never have any problems. So here I am. Get used to it. Here Sennacherib says this in his own way of, our way of wording it. Don't think God's going to actually protect you. This is not Sunday school we're talking about. This is the real world. Okay. As soon as you leave the church house, that's what the problem does. Okay, you're not in church anymore. We're talking about reality. You know, we're not talking about, what you learned in Sunday school and, when you take a break from reality and go to church. We're talking about reality right now. You got problems. Okay. Here's his message. I'm very willing and able to destroy you. Okay, problems do that. Verse 11. Behold, thou hast heard what the kings of Assyria have done to all lands by destroying them utterly, and shalt thou be delivered? This same problem has knocked down plenty of people. Whatever your problem is, the devil has probably used it on other people so that you can see it. So that when it shows up on you, you're scared of it. Rarely does it just show up out of nowhere and you've never been familiar with it. You're familiar with it. And now it's knocking on your door. And it's scary. Verse 12. Have the gods of the nations delivered them, which my fathers have destroyed, as Gozan, and Haran, and Rizpah, and the children of Eden, which were in Telassar. That was just my warm-up. That's how I got started. Look at verse 13. Where's the king of Hamath? And the king of Arphad? And the king of the city of Sepharvaim? Hena and Ivan? He said, look, I just don't have time to tell you about all the people I've destroyed. Here's a small list. Take a look at my resume and see if I'm not serious. Let's see where they are. He threw out a bunch of names. Wonder where those names were. What actually happened to them? It's in chapter 17. 2 Kings 17, verse 29. 2 Kings 17, 29. Howbeit every nation made gods of their own, and put them in the houses of the high places, which the Sumerians had made, every nation in their city wherein they dwelt. And the men of Babylon made Succoth-Benoth, and the men of Cuth made Nergal, and the men of Hamath made Ashima, and the Avites made Nibzha, and that one. And the Sepharvaites burnt their children in the fire to Amadrek and Amalek, the gods of Sepharvaim. Remember that city? That's the one he just told them that was on my resume. I mopped them out. Well, here's what they've been doing. It wasn't all Sennacherib. Verse 32. So they feared the Lord. They got part of it right. They went to church regular. They, had their daily devotional verse that was emailed to them, and they would repost it, as they were somebody. They did that part-time, but here's the rest of the time. And made unto themselves of the lowest of them priests of the high places, which sacrificed for them in the houses of high places. Verse 33. They feared the Lord and served their own gods, after the manner of the nations whom they carried away from thence. Let's see the end of the story, verse 40. Howbeit they did not hearken, but did after their former manner. So these nations feared the Lord and served their graven images, both their children and their children's children, as did their fathers, so do they unto this day. Now, they didn't sell out. They were part-time. They had 1 foot in the church and 1 foot in the world. 1 foot into following God and 1 foot, we're going to follow God on Sunday and Wednesday, and then every other day we're going to follow the devil. How are you going to make any progress? Think about it. If you're walking one direction on 2 days out of the week, and then the other 5 days out of the week you're turning around walking the other direction, you ain't getting very far.
You're 3 days in the hole.
That's right. You're starting out behind. Back to 2 Kings 19. 2 Kings 19, verse 16. Hezekiah again. He says in verse 16, Lord, bow down thine ear and hear. Open, Lord, thine eyes and see. Hear the words of Sennacherib, which hath sent him to reproach the living God. Now, this is difficult here. In a sense, he had reproached the living God by saying, your God can't take care of me. So in a sense, yes, there was part God. But most of what he was saying was, I'm going to destroy you, whether your God is there or not. So your personal problems show up and say, I'm destroying you. And we've got to turn it around and say, I'm not me, I'm property of God. Therefore, if you're trying to destroy me, you're going after God. That's a bad proposition. The answer is given to him. Look at verse 33, 2 Kings 19:33. By the way that he came, by the same shall he return, and shall not come into this city, saith the Lord. For I will defend this city to save it. Why? Because you prayed so hard. Because you brought it up here and you spread the letter in my face and you told me to get my nose down here and look at it. Nope. For mine own sake. It has anything to do with you. And for my servant David's sake, who's been dead for years now. Wow. What an answer. I'm going to take care of business, but it's got nothing to do with you. Now, that's good to know. Really good to know. When we have our problems, God will deliver us from them. And we don't deserve it.
Amen.
But you know why he does it? Because his name's on us. He does it for his son's sake, Jesus Christ. Now that's a good deal. Look at 2 Kings 18, verse 15. I wonder why God didn't say to Hezekiah, you did the right thing, you came to me, you put that letter out in the temple, and you came to the men of God, and you asked, and you jumped through all the right hoops. That's what we would think. We would think, if we were going to create this story, we would tell Hezekiah, you did everything the way that I wanted you to do it, therefore I'm going to deliver you. But that was not what he asked, or that was not his answer. Here's what Hezekiah has been doing. Chapter 18, verse 15. Talking about Sennacherib. And Hezekiah gave him, Sennacherib, all the silver that was found in the house of the Lord, and in the treasures of the king's houses. Uh-oh. Yeah, Hezekiah is a sellout. He gave the wrong things to the wrong man. He went down to the temple and chopped up the gold that was on the doors and said, I'll give that to appease my enemy. I'll do whatever it takes to make him happy. I don't care if it's God's got to suffer a little bit. He can make more. Now, he felt like he had no choice. I'm sure that was not his first choice. He was not sitting there thinking, I can't wait till the day I can get rid of some of this gold. No. He felt like he was in a bind. He had to do something. The only thing he had at hand to do was steal from God. He was bankrupt now. He just gave away the treasures of Israel. Verse 16. At that time did Hezekiah cut off the gold from the doors of the temple of the Lord, and from the pillars which Hezekiah king of Judah had overlaid, and gave it to the king of Assyria. So what right does he really have to ask God for help? Could you imagine that on your conscience? He had just done this. Now he's got a letter. It's a good thing he wasn't modern day Christian. We would have said, I need to earn God's favor again. We never earn it. Amen. You've never fallen so bad you can't go back. That's the time to get back. Look at 18 verse 31. Here's Sennacherib's speaking. Hearken not to Hezekiah. Now he's talking to the people. For thus saith the king of Assyria, make an agreement with me by a present. Didn't you just get a present? Wasn't enough. And come out to me. And then eat ye every man of his own vine, and every one of his fig, and drink ye every one of the waters of his cistern. They could do that already. What he tells them is, hey, I'm going to carry you away to another land that's just like this. Well, then why not just leave them where they are? He's lying. He's a liar. Now, he says, make an agreement with me. And do it with a present. I know you don't have any more. The devil is never satisfied. He always wants more and more. And when you think you finally sold out and gave him everything and you're bankrupt, he's still begging. Guess what? God does the same thing. God wants you to give him nonstop everything you have. The difference is God provides the gifts he wants you to give him. The devil doesn't provide you nothing. He's got his hand out. But God says, I'm going to give you something so you can give it back to me. What happens when we get to heaven? One of the big things you find in heaven is everybody's throwing crowns at his feet. Where do you think they got those? They didn't bring them up there. He gave them to them. Hey, y'all gonna need some gifts to give me. Here's one. And then we can give it to him. The result of Sennacherib's message to the people is in chapter 19, 2 Kings 19. 2 Kings 19, verse 3. And they said unto him, Thus saith Hezekiah, this day is a day of trouble. You ever had one of them days? You ever had a day that wasn't one of those? Okay. And of rebuke. Now, it's not clear in here, but I'm sure his mind has already rebuked him. He knows he's been cutting off gold and silver from the temple and giving it to the enemy of Israel. So he's got his rebuke. There's some rebuke there for sure. And blasphemy. The enemy of God and of the nation Israel is come against him, is blasphemy. Now he puts the emotion in this next sentence. For the children are come to the birth, and there is not strength to bring forth. That is, he said it's as though a woman is ready to give birth, and there's no strength to get the child out. She's just spent. Can't have the child, even though it's time for the child. We can't fulfill the special agreement that Sennacherib finally told us would appease him. He said there's one thing we can do. If we just do this one thing, he'll be happy. If we make an agreement with him and present him a present, but we don't have any strength, we have no more presents. We got nothing else we can give him. We're without strength. Isaiah gives him a message. 2 Kings 19, verse 6. 2 Kings 19:6. And Isaiah said unto them, Thus shall you say to your master, Thus saith the Lord, Be not afraid. Now, if he wasn't already scared to death, that would have meant nothing. He was already scared. So when he says, Be not afraid, it applied. Of the words which thou hast heard, with which the servant of the king of Assyria have blasphemed me. Behold. Now God does something special. He tells him the answer. He doesn't often do this. A lot of times we're just supposed to trust him and have faith that he's going to handle it. But here he does something unique. He tells him exactly how he's going to handle it. Now this is special. They must have been so scared to death. You know, God's good. He knows that we're wimpy. And so here he's come down there and he's reassuring him. By doing this, he's going to give him the future. He says this, verse 7. I will send a blast upon him. Now, we don't know what the blast is. But God says, whatever that is, I'm going to blast him. And he shall hear a rumor, and shall return to his own land, and I will cause him to fall by the sword in his own land. After Sennacherib and his army have left, all Israel knows is the war's over. But God gives Hezekiah the script for Sennacherib's future. He tells him, here's exactly what's going to happen. Here's all of his days, and I'll tell them to you right now because this is the way I've already lined it up. And we don't often know this, but you can settle it in your mind. The servants of the devil have this end. This is all of them's end. We may not see it at the time they think they're strong. When they think they're strong, they're boastful. They don't realize there's no peace to the wicked. And this is the way they're going to go down. He says, I'll send a blast on him. Let's find out what a blast is. It's not something you get down at Baskin Robbins. Genesis chapter 41. Genesis 41 verse 6. Genesis 41 verse 6. This is Joseph's interpreting the dream here. And behold, 7 thin ears, and blasted with the east wind sprung up after them. He's saying thin wasn't descriptive enough. These things were blasted. And the 7 thin ears devoured the 7 rank and full ears. And Pharaoh wrote, behold, it was a dream. He said that scared him to death. That was so scary that when he got the blast, he woke up. Bad blast. Look at verse 23. And behold, 7 ears, withered, thin, and blasted with the east wind, sprung up after them. Oh, there's that blasting again. It's always associated with famine and bad news. God's going to do somebody in. Blasting is not something man produces. That's a God production. He says, when I decide to blast, there's nothing man can do about it. Man can't prepare for it unless I've already prepared him, and that's what he's doing in that dream. And then you see the same thing in verse 27. We'll move on. Exodus chapter 15. Exodus 15, verse 8. He's talking about how he drowned the Egyptians. Exodus 15, 8. And with the blast of thy nostrils, the waters were gathered together. The floods stood upright as a heap, and the depths were congealed in the heart of the sea. Now, he blasted them. He blasted them and turned it to ice. Congealed it. Or jelly, whatever. Congealed it. You know why? Because that thing's going to fall on the Egyptians like a brick wall. Now, this blast in here is God preparing a special instrument of war. Not human. And that's God doing some battle. Sennacherib is in a bad shape. He doesn't know it yet. Deuteronomy 28. God warning his own people. Deuteronomy 28, verse 22. And the Lord shall smite thee with a consumption, and with a fever, and with an inflammation, and with an extreme burning, and with a sword, and with blasting. All those other things are physical. We can identify them. Now he's through blasting in there. That's something he produces. Mildew. We can point to a cause of it, but we can't say it's going to mildew. It just does. We can't identify how many days it's going to take. God decides if it's going to mildew. This is God producing something. And they shall pursue thee until thou perish. Joshua chapter 6. Joshua 6, verse 5. Now God's going to let man get in on the blasting. Joshua 6, verse 5. And it shall come to pass that when they make a long blast with the ram's horn, and when you hear the sound of the trumpet, all the people shall shout with a great shout, and the walls of the city shall fall down flat, and the people shall ascend up every man straight before him. This is how he's going to destroy Jericho. He says, I'm going to blast them. And it was blasted. It blasted them so the walls fell contrary to nature. They didn't fall in, they fell out. God blasting. And he says, man can join the party. Get you a ram's horn and blast it. Look at 2 Samuel 22. 2 Samuel 22:16. This is a wild chapter. It's telling you about an event that happened way back. I say it happened between Genesis 1 and Genesis 2. It's also prophesying an event that will future happen. 2 Samuel 22:16. The channels of the sea appeared. The foundations of the world were discovered at the rebuke of the Lord, at the blast of the breath of his nostrils. When he blasts, even the water has to get out of town. The fountains are discovered. He says, I'm going to blast Sennacherib. Your problem's going to get blasted if they come against God. Okay, not only that, he says he's going to hear a rumor. He's been on Facebook too long. I'm going to give him a rumor. Now, he's a paranoid, insecure king. Why would you call yourself a king if you're so paranoid? But the kings were. You start studying the kings, the ancient kings, they go insane. Herod was a bad one. They're afraid everybody is out to kill them and to take their position and authority. And so they're just paranoid. They kill their own kids. He says, I'm going to give him a rumor. I'm going to give him something to think about. He's been wasting all his thoughts and breath on you. I'm going to give him something else to think about for his own destruction. When there's no God to guide the king, it makes him reveal that he's just an immature adolescent. And that's what we all are, really. I mean, in our natural state. That's why we need something bigger than human to stay us. God gives you a calming power that the world doesn't have. The world has to control everything. I've said it before, and every Christian knows it. I don't know how the lost world makes it. I can't control everything. It's all out of my control. I just go to God and say, what little piece do you want me to put my hand on? What part do I have right now? Because I can't handle them all. He's got them. Now, the lost world doesn't have that. They've got to figure and manipulate and try to, and that's where we found Sennacherib. God says that's the way he's going to end. He says he's going to return to his own land. Now, everybody in trouble goes to the place they perceive is the source of their strength. Everybody does. Now, good thing for Hezekiah, he knew where real strength was. He had already done everything he could. He played the I'm going to appease the enemy game. Now, sometimes God forces us to have some humble pie from time to time. And he blesses that. But that's up to him. The main thing is go ask him, what's for dinner? That's Hezekiah now. He says, I've already done all physically I can do. There's no more strength left. Okay, God, you got to do something here. And he does. So this guy, Sennacherib, is going to run back to his hometown. Now, in his hometown, you would think he's safe. He's the big king. Remember the list of places he's destroyed? He should be a hero. Okay. One bad battle, I mean, that's no big deal. Look at everything he's taken care of. He walks in. He feels like he's in the citadel of strength. He says there, I'll cause him to fall by the sword in his own land. God destroys him in the place that he thought was safe, because safety is of the Lord. It doesn't matter what the world cooks up as this will be your agreement for safety. If God didn't give it, it ain't safe. There's no such thing as safe sin. The world does this. Okay, you can have these wicked things, but let's put a governor on it so it's safe. You can't. There's no safety. There's no way to legalize safe murder. But they're doing it with babies. Murder's murder. Doesn't make it good.
They're doing that in Canada with approving euthanasia.
Yeah.
The elderly.
Yep.
And people who have dementia and Alzheimer's.
Yep. Ephesians chapter 1. We have a place of safety that we can run to. And for Christians down here, this world is not our home.
Amen.
We have to many times run back to our own land. That's where you got to go when trouble strikes. Ephesians 1 verse 6. To the praise of the glory of his grace, wherein he hath made us accepted in the beloved. Now, Sennacherib walked into town and thought he was accepted. It's his city. But he wasn't. There was something to that rumor. His sons were cooking up a way to steal the throne. He had 2 sons or 3 sons. I think he had 3 sons. 2 of them conspired to kill him, and 1 got out of town. One said, I don't want to be any part of this. He wasn't safe. But for us, we can find safety in Jesus Christ. We're accepted. Accepted by who? By God in Jesus Christ. It don't get more powerful than that. Could you imagine two powerful things? The two most powerful things known to anybody? Jesus Christ and God. You're hiding in Jesus Christ, accepted by God. You got no problems. Proverbs chapter 8. Proverbs chapter 8, verse 29. This is wisdom personified. Proverbs 8:29. When he gave to the sea his decree that the waters should not pass his commandment. That's some power right there. Could you imagine that? Try that sometime. Walk out to the beach and say, okay, wave, you will not come past this point right here. Just wait long enough, it will. When he appointed the foundations of the earth, then I was by him, as one brought up with him, and I was daily his delight, rejoicing always before him. This is probably Jesus Christ, but wisdom specifically. Rejoicing in the habitable parts of his earth. So, there's some wisdom in the earth. Now look at this phrase right here. And my delights were with the sons of men. Did you imagine that? Jesus Christ's delight is to spend time with us. So run to him for safety. He enjoys that. It's not a bother. That's what he likes. Remember, he's a savior. Okay, if you don't have any problems that need saving from, he's twiddling his thumbs. But we do have problems that we need saving from. Look at John chapter 3. John chapter 3, verse 35. John 3, verse 35. The Father loveth the Son. That's not you. That's Jesus Christ. And hath given all things into his hand. That is, he's the co-signer on the bank account. Nothing moves in heaven that is not under his authority. Everything is his. God said, I signed it over to him. Pretty good. Verse 36. He that believeth on the Son hath everlasting life. Why? Because it's Jesus Christ. God signed it over to him. And he that believeth not the Son shall not see life, but the wrath of God abideth on him. So, our problems, we can count on it. The solutions are within the hand of Jesus Christ. Because God said, I saw to it that he got everything. And we're in him. We really got it all. Look at Romans chapter 8. Romans chapter 8, verse 31. Romans 8:31. What shall we then say to these things? If God be for us, who can be against us? Good question. The answer is every man that moves. Anybody can come against us at any time. But they're nobodies compared to God. Verse 32. He that spared not his own Son, that's God, but delivered him up for us all. Okay, that's the extreme God went to in order to get you. How shall he not with him also freely give us all things? Now, why did he say with him? Because you're in him, he's in you, and remember, he's the one who's been given everything. So with him, you get all things that are needed. Now, that all things doesn't mean that you suddenly have the right to demand him do this or do that. We don't get to stomp our feet and act like spoiled brats. Because he's a good father, and he'll give us just what we need. And he'll spoil us from time to time, too. But it's probably not going to be the time we say, come spoil me. It's going to be when he decides. I have this thing I do. We have, we're downtown there, so we have all the panhandlers. And usually I don't give them something if they ask for it. When they're not asking for it, I give them something. That's just something I do. Usually, now not always, but usually, if they're begging for it, then I'm thinking, okay, they're out here, this is a job for them. I got a job too.
Right.
But now, if I see them and I have compassion and I think they need some food, I'll ask them, have you had lunch yet? Okay, what do you want for lunch? Let's get you some lunch. I try to help them. That's the way God does us. We're not going to stomp our feet and demand, you give me this and you give me... No, but he does, like a father does. He likes to spoil his kids. He spoils us. He gives us stuff we don't need just because he likes to do it. Verse 33. Who shall lay anything to the charge of God's elect? You got a bill? You ain't got it. Because you're dead, remember? Your life's hid in him. So who's got the bill? God does. They going to lay it to his charge? They going to tell him that he's overdue? He's right on time always. It is God that justifieth. Justifieth who? Jesus Christ. Because Jesus Christ has it all. All right, that's our message for tonight.